Hi there, and welcome to Inside the Wooniverse, a podcast brought to you from the corner of Fringe in Maine. I'm your host, Colette Baron-Reid, and with me today is the most awesome Colin Bedell, a queer Gemini twin from Long Island, New York. He is a passionate student of secular personal growth systems and the universal spiritual themes explored in A Course in Miracles. Colin is the weekly horoscope writer for Cosmopolitan.com and has 3 best-selling books. 1 is a little bit of astrology. 2, my absolute favorite, is called Queer Cosmos, the astrology of queer identities and relationships, and Gemini. Well and Good magazine listed Colin as one of the most influential people in the wellness industry and as a 2020 innovator. Welcome, Colin. Colin's joining us from Italy today.
Yes, thank you, Colette. It is such an honor to be here. Buongiorno, buona serata, amica mia. I know, something like that. I'm learning, sto imparando. Thank you, it's an honor to be here.
Oh, how's Italy treating you?
Maravilloso. It's amazing. Honestly, it's been one miracle after the other, Colette. It's like this country has just completely taken me into its arms. I'm still like, boo, about the whole thing. It's amazing. Yeah.
You're so verklempt. I know. You know,
I am. I'm very verklempt over here.
I heard Colin on another podcast with my good friend Deborah Silverman, and I literally barraged him with emails. I knew I had to engage the queer cosmos inside the wooniverse with us. So listen, your book, and we will talk about more about your book later, but I told you this already, the introduction to your book made me cry. I mean, it was so profoundly intimate and so beautiful. I mean, I've never heard anyone describe the queer experience and the difficulties and the potential liberation and love and joy in one spot, in a few pages. I literally sobbed when I read it. And because it also, you know, I think I told you this, my best friend Doug had died a couple of years ago, and he was very queer, and he would have loved you. Yes. And, you know, and it was
I would have loved him.
It was like you opened up a door back to him for me, and remembering just all these complexities and so beautiful. Okay. Don't make me cry. All right, let's go back to the beginning.
No, I know we both have cancer in our chart. We'll cry the whole time. It's okay. Go ahead.
What was your childhood like? You say you're a Gemini twin. Oh
God! Speaking of crying, right? Yes, a Gemini twin. As I have the shirt, as I have the sweater here right now. Gemini twin, born 2 minutes younger than my twin sister, Courtney, and I have a Cancer mother, a Leo father. And, you know, I certainly didn't get out of childhood unscathed. I don't know who did. You know, there was certainly some financial and emotional traumas going there. But I really believe that my parents did what they could with the limited resources that they had. And when I look back on my childhood, I'm deeply grateful. And I feel a deep sense of responsibility for a lot of the things that my parents were able to do for me.
Oh, that's beautiful. When did you come out, or like when to yourself? Like when did you really know that you were queer? Was it when you were little, growing up? When was that? Yeah, definitely when I was little. And I think that what happens for most people, I can't speak for all, but I think what happens is we realize there's something different, and then the self-deception begins. Right. And we all know the spiritual toxicity of so much self-deception. Right. And so it wasn't until I was 16 where I felt a little bit more comfortable owning the fact that I was different and sharing it with my family. And interestingly enough, that was the same year that my parents decided to move from Long Island, New York to the Bible Belt in North Carolina. No.
So quite an Yes, I know. There wasn't a gay or a Jew in sight. No, I'm just kidding. There were a few gays and there were a few Jews up the street, and I mean 20 miles up the street. So it was a total culture shock, right?
Oh my God, it's so funny.
It's true. There's hardly any down there of gays or Jews. No, they have a special little communities like we all do. And so, but when I came out there, and it was definitely a challenge. This was 2005. So this was the Bush administration. This was the peak of the war of Iraq. It was But what was really powerful is that my family just said, okay, we wish you told us earlier because we probably would have moved here if you did, but we're here now, so we'll do the best we can. And they just completely mobilized around me. And honestly, I have been truly loved and supported by them almost unconditionally ever since. Yeah.
Can I just say something about what you just said?
Sure. Please.
That you were just so flippant about that, oh, well, they said, well, I wish you would come out sooner. We probably wouldn't have moved here. So that shows me just how much they loved you and recognized that the environment might be challenging, right? Might be a bit challenging there for you.
Yes,
so that's
because I have
beautiful.
a cancer mother, Colette. I know I have a cancer mother. So she was like, honey, you told me this now? Like, oh my God, mamma mia. Oi. But she was just like, said, well, we're here, so we'll do the best we can. And it was very funny. So after I came out to her, I told her, Mom, I'll tell the family this. She's such a cancer. I was like, I will tell the family, I'll do it. Right. She was like, okay, honey. Right. The next day, she comes in. She practically kicked the door down off the hinges, right? Very cardinal. She's like, honey, I know you told me not to tell anybody, but I called your uncles, your aunts, your godparents, your grandfather, your grandmother. I even told the people on the street because I said, listen to me right now. If you have a problem with my gay son, you better tell me because you're out. And I don't want you to tell him. So I told them. I was like, well, okay. I was gonna, I know, but I had to tell them first because if they said something I didn't like, it would have been the last thing they said to me. Okay. And I was like, all right, Ma,
I'm in love with your mother. And I would have done the exact same thing. Being a cancer myself, I would have done. I know I said you should say, but I told everybody. And I said, if you have a problem with my gay son, you're going to have to go through me.
You have a problem with me.
So did you discover astrology? Did you discover astrology there when you were there?
No, I actually discovered it a few years before. I would say maybe 11 or 12. So it was about 4 years prior. And speaking of my cancer mother, I discovered it through her because she read Linda Goodman's Sun Signs in the late 70s, early 80s, although it was published in 1968, I think. And she would just use it all around the house. Like she would just say things like, well, your Virgo grandmother, we got to call her early. Otherwise, she's not going to be happy if we don't have a plan, right? And your Leo father, he's driving me nuts. And I had no idea what she meant by this, right? So I just Googled it. I distinctly remember the first day I ever went into like AOL.com, Google, Gemini, and this rush of information found me. So I was 11 or 12. And then, and then when I back to the South and the funny kind of cultural idiosyncrasies there, I would ask people like, oh, what's your sign? And they would say, I'm a Christian, so we don't believe in that.
I'm a Christian.
That's my That's my sign. I was like, okay. God bless. God bless. I know. Anyway.
Oh, don't make me laugh so much. Okay. All right. So how did the discovery of astrology change you, if anything?
Ooh. Well, it really became the central theory that animated my book, Queer Cosmos, is that it changed me as it gave a story and a template for who I can be aside from what shame thought I should be, right? And so we all deal with shame in some way. It's psychologists call it the universal emotion. So we all feel a sense of unworthiness sometimes. Some have greater resilience around it, others struggle. And astrology changed my life by giving me this really beautiful, distinct Technicolor proposal of who I can be apart from what a straight white male is supposed to be. And when it said, oh, you're a Gemini sun, so you can be a writer, storyteller, teacher, traveler, wanderer, I was like, I can? Right? And then it gave me this grounded Capricorn moon. So it said, and you can also give people tough love if you need to. And I'm like, may I? Right? So it just gave me this beautiful permission slip to like be who I wanted to be and always just needed that gentle encouragement. And then when I started to feel more self-accepted in myself, my relationships, oh my God, the depth and the connection just went to beautiful places because I wasn't pretending, performing, people pleasing, hustling, striving, negotiating. I was just exactly who the fuck I am.
You know what I liked about what you just said? So you declared a kind of technicolor permission slip. It made you more of what you could be. And you were no longer trying to define yourself as other than. I think that's the big shame piece that, you know, and especially I wish everybody would pick up your book, your introduction. As I said, I've read it 10 times and cried each time. But it really spoke to that, about the idea that there's this baked in shame and feeling unworthy or so different. And all of a sudden astrology says, well, yeah, okay, that's true too. That's fine. You're going to work that out. But guess what you could be? And you can be queer and all these things. You know, you don't have to be a cisgendered male, you know, to be these things. You can be you. And it does give you permission to be you. And I think you just opened a whole magical door with this.
Thank you.
Okay, so how did you come to create the term queer cosmos? And what is it? What is it?
What is it? What are you talking about up there, Gemini?
What's the queer cosmos?
It's I came about it with my best friend who helped me start the website. Her name is Christina Shinyi Mui, and she's a first-generation Chinese-American lesbian from Brooklyn. Okay, so I was like, you know what we should do? We were like in our mid-20s, and I said, you know, we should really just start a website where we gather like all the things that have helped us, you know, make sense of personality, relationships, finances, intimacy, the whole thing. And she was like, I love it. We should think about maybe calling it like queer something. And I was like, okay, queer cosmos, right? And to queer is to question, to evaluate, to edit, to audit certain things. And so that's really that's what's been baked into the cake of my work is how do I question and queer every theory that I read and just say, well, okay, certain astrologers say this, but what do clinicians say? What do marriage and family therapists have to put forward, right? So that's always sort of been my inquiry and access into these things is like, how do we make sure that this is true?
I love that. And so this obviously just grew and grew so quickly because, you know, the inquiry piece that I love that you inquire, you have such a brilliant mind and you open it to everything and say, well, I'm not going to just take what you say. What else is said? And then can we come together somewhere in the middle and find the thread that fits for me, you know, or fits for you, because it's not all one size fits all.
No, it is not. You couldn't have said it any better. And I think, you know, sometimes not just astrologers, but a lot of seekers in personal development need to remember that, you know, as a function of critical intelligence is information from multiple sources.
Yes. Multiples. I'm like you too. I question everything.
I believe it. Everything you do.
Why? My dad would go, because I said so. Because I said so. Because after a while, the whying was like, why is it this way? Why couldn't it be that way? Why? Yeah, I get it. And it's intense. It's intense. Yeah. So let's talk a little bit more about queer cosmos and the, you know, it grew and it became something and so if you were to tell any of us, like, how would we be able to approach astrology in a more inclusive way, which is kind of the foundation of queer cosmos, how would we do that?
It's a great question. I think that we would actually start, this is relatively new, I didn't know this at the time, but I think that we would start by kind of having like a broad understanding of what social workers have to say related to strengths-based assessments, as opposed to deficit-based analysis. And a lot of astrologers can dance in that territory. Oh, your chart's missing this. You know what your chart doesn't have? And it's like, why? I don't fucking care. Can you tell me what I do have? Like, come on. You know,
right? Like, what do I have?
Hello, what strengths am I working with? Girl, help me. Right? I'm talking to you not to figure out what I don't have. Thank you so much. And so like strengths-based assessments, also power dynamics. What does it mean to have a healthy sense of generative power? And then I think that astrologers could benefit beautifully from just like a quick crash course on relational psychodynamics to make it more inclusive.
Right.
Because they are approached on a wide range of life-defining decisions and behaviors. And I want to ask them, when they speak with an astonishing level of expertise and certainty, where did you get this information from, and can I see your works cited page? Because if you're talking off the top of your head just because of what astrology says, I'm going to need you to expand your lexicon. Okay?
Right.
And that's not to get that level. You're like, oh, drama. I love it. No.
I love you. I love you. And because I really believe that the lexicon is too narrow for so many things. I think that our vocabulary is limited. I think language is limited.
Hello.
I think we need more words
Hello.
in the English language. We have a limitation on the lexicon, and we must, if we are going to move into this new world, we have to expand it. We just need to add things. We don't need to shove things into anything or make it different.
No.
We just need more.
Absolutely.
We need more.
Yeah. And I think it was an Austrian philosopher, Ludwig Bentenstein, who said the limits of our language define the limits of our world.
Right. The limits of our language define the limits of our world. I know. What I really got was the fact, and it was the big epiphany for me, is like, we need a broader language. We need to expand our language. Our entire society is dependent on that. And that is the biggest issue here. And again, you really underlined that in your body of work.
Thank you.
Oh, you're so welcome. How important is the application of psychology when it comes to astrological interpretations? Like, I'm a Jungian, so I know, I'm like all about that. And I love how you go with this, but I'd like you to expand a little bit more on that.
Sure. Well, I just, full disclosure, not a clinician, never studied psychology academically or anything like that. I studied fashion and journalism at Parsons, the New School for Design. So I don't know where I get off thinking I can just talk about psychology sometimes, But what's the purpose of that is because I believe that we are all looking for accurate personal insight. And if some people find that true through spiritual, secular, metaphysical sources like astrology, maravilloso, or if they're finding that through a therapist, a clinician, a social worker, a counselor, that's beautiful too. But I think what's beautiful about psychology and astrology is theoretically they should be putting forward the same thing, which is the healing of the mind and accurate self-awareness. So ultimately, it doesn't matter what language, what school of thought we're using. As long as we get to a space of inner peace and insight, more power to you. Go ahead. Yeah.
I love that. Well, I think they intersect. I think that's what I was, 100%. One could be clinical. The other is, there's an intersection between the two. I think that there is a psychology to astrology, right? And so I laughed when you said, well, who am I to say that and I studied fashion and design. but astrology has an innate spirituality and an innate psychology in terms of the way they describe the archetypes, the archetypal energies.
What makes me so happy is when I will have a marriage and family therapist or a doctor of clinical psychology on my Instagram. The Gottman Institute just started following me on Instagram. I was like, you have got to be kidding me. Woo, right? So, I'm honored by that because I know, because I love the integrative approaches where we can say, hey, marriage and family therapists and clinical psychologists, what do you have? And they can say, hey, Colette and Colin, what about you witches? What are you offering here, right? So we could kind of just provide what we share. And I love the cross collaboration. It's beautiful when it's done really well. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, that's what I really get from your work too. That it's and you are very, very humble because you write like an academic, and you cite everything. This is well researched. It's well researched. So you might say you're not a psychologist, but I saw all the citations. Hello, so I read them all, and so okay. Let's just call that what it is. All right, let's talk about Course in Miracles, which you and I share together. How have those teachings, how have they impacted the work you do? And you?
It's in every corner, Colette. And now I have questions for you. It is in every corner because finding A Course in Miracles happened parallel with advancing my study into astrology in my early 20s. And fortunately, speaking of other Jewish cancers who I love, Marianne Williamson was on Oprah, and I was like, who is this woman talking about forgiveness and this and that? And Marianne is probably one of, if not the most successful teacher of the principles of A Course. And I read her book, A Return to Love, and then her other books. And then I went to her lectures. I was just like, okay, it's time for me to do the study, right? And when I completed the workbook of A Course in Miracles, my life was completely different. I was working as an astrologer. I was living primarily with faith and vision. And I sort of went through my own, like almost baptism by fire, in a sense, to hold space for other people in this way. And it was A Course in Miracles that really helped me unlearn the dominant thought system based on fear and actually apply a thought system based on love, mercy, compassion, and forgiveness. And it just works every day for me. Yeah. How about you? How did you find it?
Oh, so, almost identical to you. Interesting enough, but
Oh,
many years
really?
prior. I think you
Okay,
were. I
okay.
don't even know if you were born yet. But anyway, when actually, I found. Well, I got clean and sober 36 years ago, and the course was something that all of us got into in this small group of people I hung out with. So we all took
Oh,
Course in Miracles at the same time as
great.
getting sober, at the same time as going to
Great.
the Tibetan, temple to learn meditation, and then to get swatted by the Zen temple people, which I didn't go back to. But A Course in Miracles was always adjacent. Then I also saw Marianne Williamson's book when it first came out, because it came out, I think, in the late 80s. And I read A Return to Love, but she wasn't an Oprah at the time, and there was no internet either. But I read the book, and I was like, oh my God, oh my God. I want to be like this person. Marianne Williamson was a huge impact on me too, just like you.
Oh,
And
wow,
and
yes,
I think
yes.
it helped me love myself because I had so much shame. So, getting clean and sober, I had a lot of shame and a lot. I brought in a lot of baggage. And I think A Course in Miracles helped me. My Oracle cards, Course in Miracles, they all kind of shoved together with the 12 steps. And that's how I'm sitting here today. Seriously.
I believe it. And that's what it would call it. We, each and every one of us, have a highly individualized spiritual curriculum. Would you say, not to use the G word, but maybe we can, how has it helped you experience God? How
it's okay to
has
use
it
a G
brought
word.
you to that place? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
right.
You're interviewing me now. Okay, good. How has it brought me?
I know. Come on, it's the wooniverse. Come on. Yeah, I know. Not to be
It's
that Gemini,
the
but
wooniverse, exactly. Yeah.
Come on.
We can talk God. So I
Yeah,
have
we
no
can.
problem with the word God. I have a different vision of the word God. I was raised by the white guy in the sky who was angry and jealous and mean and nasty, and the one that I thought, and also very loving, thank you very much, and giving me every reason to
Right.
be alive, etc.
Yeah,
But I
yeah.
also felt that God was following me around with a fly swatter going, you're bad, slap. So I had to redefine my understanding of God. So I no longer see it as an old white man in the sky. I see it as a consciousness, and it's beloved. It's loving. I had no problem with the Christian language in that because I also went to Unity Church, which I loved. So,
Cool, yeah.
the concept of God became higher power, then became conscious
Yep.
universe. So it's just interchangeable for me, but it's no longer the religious or the monotheistic religious vision of that. Is different.
Yeah,
I had
no,
to
that's
give it
beautiful.
I had to give God a new, a
makeover.
brand new, a makeover. I gave God a makeover. Yeah. Oh my God,
It's
that's
true.
very funny. Thank
True,
you for
as a
saying
Libra
that.
rising
Okay,
one.
we can
It's
say
true, you
that.
did.
Yeah,
We can totally say
Yeah, I gave God a
because God
makeover.
is joy and levity between friends.
Yeah.
It's just here, it's in
Yeah.
these spaces. So that's beautiful. I'm so glad that you had that experience with it.
And what about you? Tell me about your experience.
Well, it really just, interestingly enough, because she's been on my heart today, I lost a friend in a very freak accident back in 2017. So when you were telling me about your friend who you were just thinking of, I'm like, oh, isn't that interesting? And so she died just about 2.5 months before my workbook was over for the first time. And she was from England, and she had this bright, beautiful purple hair. Right. And whenever she was in New York and people would see her, they would say, oh, my God, we love your hair. So she was always known as this purple energy. Right. So then her family, because her funeral was technically in New York, so her British friends and family weren't able to have a funeral for her. They brought everybody to England and they had a funeral for her on her birthday. And then at the end of the birthday party, Colette, her father, unbeknownst to everybody, hired a pyrotechnic fireworks service who then let off purple fireworks into the sky
Oh, I'm gonna
on
cry.
her birthday. And it was in that moment, and I had just started to finish the workbook lesson, where when I was seeing the purple fireworks and I was listening to everybody sing my friend happy birthday, when I felt the presence of God. And I was just like, I can't pretend I haven't felt this way. I can't act like I haven't experienced this state of grace. And I don't know if I would have had the consciousness to really just inhabit that fully if it wasn't for the workbook. And now that it's in my heart, and now that my friend is helping me and doing all of these things, I just live from deep faith, I think. Deep faith in God and what my life has become. Yeah. Thank you.
I
for
love
listening.
that. And it's so true. Deep faith. It's so true. It is all about deep faith. And God doesn't know the boundaries that humanity has placed on each other, right? God doesn't other anybody. That's the one thing too, that we are all children. Yes, we are all the same.
right.
There is no othering ever, ever, ever. And that's what I also felt it was very important for me to know that early on. You have, and you do add such a spiritual component to astrology and a beautiful metaphorical lens. Were you always such a great storyteller? I bet you were.
I don't know. I think I noticed when I was learning about astrology, Colette, that like something happened where like when my Gemini mouth would run, who knew people would listen? I'm like, oh God.
Oh no.
Right? So maybe, but I think that over time I've started to really just kind of study the craft and practice it because I could tell that I have this Gemini stellium for a reason. I might as well use it. But I never really knew that growing up or anything like that. It's just sort of, it almost took me by surprise when my career started. And now I'm just like, well, okay, I guess I got something to say. Here we go. Right. And then that's it.
What I love about that, there was no human ambition that was directing this. And this is why I believe you were chosen for this, because you were just now saying this story like, oh, I didn't know. I mean, they must have listened. I guess I have, and I find myself here and here I am. And like, because you didn't go out looking for it, right? You were just basically saying, let me be who I'm supposed to be. And the next thing you know, boom, there you are on Cosmopolitan, no less.
And you know what's crazy, Colette? This is why I'm glad I'm talking to you, because if I shared this with any like business coach or like strategist, they'd be like, so you're telling me you just fought to speak and talk and all of this happened? And I'm like, yeah, that's really like, you're absolutely right. I had no professional ambition. I just said, okay, well, I was fired from this job. I've never been able to work for a successful space again, or before rather. Let me just start this astrology thing and see what happens. And then what was wild, Colette, is back to my friend. The day I was flying to England for her birthday was the day that Cosmo contacted me. And my website was only published in live for 2 months.
2 months, and they called. Oh, wow.
2 months. Come on now. Yeah.
Sounds like she orchestrated that.
Oh, you know it. And she's a Virgo, so they're always orchestrating, aren't they?
Orchestrating.
Okay? Always behind the scenes, pulling some strings. And that has been my life. From the books to everything that the world would consider successful.
Yeah.
I never even thought or put anything out there. I swear that's the God's honest truth. So I'm glad that was present, and I'm telling the truth.
And I tell everybody that too, and I know it's so opposite to like the strategy, which is don't worry about the form. Don't worry. Just feel the essence. Just say, use me as you will. Thy will be done through me. And it'll show up. And because I think we spend an inordinate amount of time chasing things, chasing the money, chasing the, what we look like, chasing the, the outer stuff, when the bottom line is we don't have to go chasing anything. It'll come. It will come. We do have to get up and leave. We can't be armchair astronauts, okay? Like we can't just sit there and go, hello, come and find me.
Right.
I'm in space, where's the stars?
I love that expression. I love that expression.
Right? Yeah. So what do you think everybody needs to know about astrology right now? Because I think that the time has come that we should have it. Kids should be taught this in school.
I know. Well, all of a sudden now my twin sister's open to it. I'm like, oh, are you? Because she specializes in child psychology and child development. And now she's like, okay, so I see what you mean about my daughter. I'm like, yeah, I told you she was a Virgo. So anyway, and also to that point around the form. Of Course in Miracles talks about that. I'll answer your question about astrology, but I just wanted to say there was that relationship there.
Sure.
That, of Course in Miracles talks about the distinction between content and form really beautifully, and says that, a lot of us are so preoccupied with the form and not the content of our work. And it would be akin to me saying, I think I'm going to buy the picture frame before I buy the picture. And we're obsessed with the picture frame. And I'm like, okay, but what about the offerings? What about the loving intention by which you're excited about things. Don't worry about the picture frame and the content, the form. That'll come later. Inhabit the content. You said essence, same thing. So, of course, the Course has something to say about that. Essence and content. Right?
Beautiful.
Similar words for the same thing. Yeah, I know. And it made me think of the picture frame metaphor. And I think what I would want people to know about astrology is actually, this is provocative, but I don't think it's a belief system. Yeah, right. Unpopular opinions. Here
Go
we
ahead, honey. Be provocative.
I know. Come on. You can do it, baby.
Come on. We're in the Wooniverse. You go.
That's true. And you provide that space. I don't believe astrology is a belief system. I think it's an experience. So if people were to ask me, oh, you believe in astrology? You believe in that crap? I always say, no, I don't actually. I don't believe in astrology. I experience astrology.
Yeah.
I can't give you my experience, Johnny Salami. But what I can tell you is if you think about it, apply it, and try it, tell me that your life doesn't change in 2 to 3 weeks. And if you have those results, and results are the ultimate guru, now whether or not we believe in things, okay, come back and see me. Or I hope you find whatever it is that you find that gives you great insight, self-actualization, and relational health. But I'm pretty convinced, and astrology works for me. And if you have something to say about that, I'm all ears, but I doubt it.
I love you. Oh my God, this is so good.
I love you more.
And I think what you just said with it being experiential, because I agree. Absolutely. And people say, I don't believe in that. I said, well, it's not about believing in it. Experience it. It's experience that will tell you if something is true or not. It is not me telling you what it is. You just experience it for yourself. Integrate it. Does it feel right for you, etc. I mean, and it's so individual. Even though that there are, the whole zodiac is of 12, but there's so many different combinations that make up a person, so many millions of little tiny mathematical things you guys got to know about.
Come on.
Which I can't handle. We
all have our strengths.
The minutiae. Right. We all have our strengths. I know. Oh my gosh. My chart had to be rectified because I used to tell Deborah, our mutual friend, that my Virgo was broken because I had a Virgo rising. It didn't make any sense at all, my chart. And of course it wasn't right because it was the wrong birth time. And I was like, what is this Virgo stuff? That is so not me. Oh my God. Anyway.
But I love that you knew. You were like, something doesn't add up here.
That's actually a really good example I just gave you of the experience of astrology, because the experience that I had of what I was told was not right. But when my chart was rectified and I got the right birth time, everything, the experience of who I was, I have to tell you this, it was like I heard angels singing. Like, it's finally me. Like, it was only a couple years ago that I had the chart redone.
Oh, wow.
I'm like, this is wrong. This is so wrong. This just isn't working. And then it was like, this is so right. So
I'm so glad Libra found you. I'm so glad.
Right, Libra found me, exactly. So would you like to pull a card? Would you like to pull a card with me and say, what does the universe want me and Colin to explore one more? Oh, the thinker in protection, overthinking.
Oh, okay.
So when do we over-intellectualize? And how does that cut us off from our spiritual connection?
Well, let me spitball with you on this, okay? So I think that really another way of saying overthinking is actually conspiracy theory writing. And what do I mean by that? What? So when we are confronted with an absence of information, right? And we're emotionally flammable or emotionally activated about a thing, we will latch on to about 2 to 3 data points and then write this extraordinary narrative rich with projection, fear, and assumption. And that's, in social terminology, called the definition of a conspiracy theory. And a lot of us, because we're overthinking, are actually just telling ourselves conspiracy theories. And we tell ourselves stories, live from these stories, show our ass from these stories, when what we can do, instead of overthinking, is simply tell people, hey, can I just have a minute with you? The story I'm telling myself about why you said what you did or why you did what you did is because you're mad at me because of A, B, and C and 1, 2, 3. Can you just fact check that for accuracy with me, please?
Yeah.
Just talk.
And that is so true. I have a girlfriend, she and I do the same thing. We don't talk for a while. We're both super busy. Are you mad at me? And by the time we talk, we've both created a conspiracy theory, just like the way you said it, in our heads. And that had nothing in fact whatsoever. I'm like, oh my God, I can't believe you said that, right? And then we're both like, oh, we're so silly, and we're both canceled, right? So it's just very funny. But I want to further on that one. Because I really want to further on this conversation. Because what you said, bringing up the concept of conspiracy theory, it's more than the conspiracy theories that are in the news. It's what we do to ourselves. Correct. That if we are behind enemy lines, right, and we haven't connected to spirit, because the whole question was like spirit wants, right, the question is how do we stay in alignment with spirit, and what else do we need to talk about? And this is what we have to watch out for, is that if we haven't begun our day plugged into our higher power, if we don't make our higher power our primary reality, we are more likely to get into conspiracy theories, because that's when we go back into shame, blame, projection. What were the three things that you said? You said it so well. I don't remember what they were.
Yeah, no, you nailed it. Fear, projection, assumption. Yeah, shame.
And all of us are being, kind of invited into those kind of, dark clouds without them even having any reality to us, right? It's like, here, I want you to think this way and feel bad about yourself. No, I don't think so. I think I want to come back because I have a higher power, and I believe that there is hope, and I want to be the hope in the world. Therefore, this stuff, this way of thinking, and it does take discipline. I think that's the thing, right? I think we do have to have some discipline. What do you think?
We do have to have some discipline. Oh, I couldn't agree more. And then when you and I met for the first time virtually with Deborah, we talked about our morning routines and how they help us, and why we try to plug in to do this work, because it would be really difficult for us to keep our thoughts sober and our spirit high without a disciplined practice.
So tell me about yours.
Oh, yeah. Well, I just want to say for attribution, the suggestion I just had was Dr. Brené Brown. So that's her Rising Strong process, which is the story I'm telling myself. So if people are interested in that, please go to her literature. And my morning routine is wake up, watch Marianne Williamson's interpretation of A Course in Miracles, right? She reads it out loud and then she talks about it. Meditate for about 5 to 10 minutes. 3 pages of morning pages around that, and then my day begins. And I don't type, text, talk, or anything to anybody in that space. I have my coffee on my right. I listen to music. I get into the zone, and then my day begins when I'm finished on the 3rd page. How about you?
Almost the same, only I have to feed my dogs.
Oh, get out.
So, I have 3 dogs, so they have to be fed first. Yeah.
Yes.
But I do pretty much the same thing. And when I don't do that, well, I'll tell you mine. I actually also watch Marianne Williamson. That's very funny. Her recent, I've signed up to her recent thing, and I find it, I take what I like, leave the rest. I'm not very political, so, but I love the Course in Miracles, etc. Yeah. I pray. So I do a prayer. I pull a card. For the day, and I ask, what do I need to reflect on today to stay in alignment with the highest good? And I always say the same prayer: God, grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, courage to change the things I can, wisdom to know the difference. Relieve me of the bondage of self, so that I may better do thy will. Let there be light, thy will be done through me. It's a contemplative prayer. So I said it pretty quick, but I make sure that I ground in it. And that I find, and then actually usually Mark and I meditate together, my husband and I, and for much longer. I meditate for half an hour. But when we're shooting this podcast, I can't put the headphones on my head because it hurts too much. So I sit in my own office with the music blaring, and I do it in there because I love to meditate to music. And then I'm good. Then I can text. Then I can talk. Then I don't do it either. I don't talk to anybody until I'm done. And then I also paint. So that's also part of my morning process. I paint. You do your morning pages. I paint.
Yes. Yeah. There we go. And whatever feels right for you and works. Yeah.
Exactly. And I do think that what you talked about, like you have a very distinct discipline, and you are grounded because of that discipline. And I think that this card reminds all of us we do need to have a spiritual practice in order for us not to, be taken hostage by our own heads, right? And like I always say, well, I'm behind enemy lines if I'm thinking and I haven't meditated, right? And if I'm making up a story, right?
God,
I'm making
go ahead.
and also to have self-compassion, right? You have a lot of self-compassion. I think what I've learned about your book, Queer Cosmos, is an invitation to compassion, I think.
Ooh, that would make me very happy to know that that's what the reader feels at the end of it, of compassion for self and others. Yes.
Yeah.
Wow. Thank you. That would be my joy to
that's
know.
what I felt. Because you give also such a multiplicity. It's like seeing a diamond, but you gave us 100 facets when normally we only got 10.
Oh.
Right? And it makes us understand each other
Colette.
better. Yeah.
Oh,
you did it. I didn't do it.
Happy.
Well,
you did
be
it.
happy.
I'm just
You
saying
wrote it. Like it would make you happy. Well, you're the one that wrote it.
I know. No, that's really such an honor to read. Thank you.
So I'm going to ask you a couple last questions. As we
Sure.
move into an uncertain future, what are some solutions that you might be mulling around in that fabulous head of yours? Like, what are some of those solutions that you think about as we move forward to some of the challenges?
Great question. And I love that you were like, what solutions? Well, I believe that one of the most effective ways to have security and a solution-oriented approach is to actively clarify your two values and situate what behavior supports the living into those values. I don't know a better path towards security than determining what are my two values, how do I operationalize this into observable behaviors, and how do I keep it moving. I haven't found it yet. Than that.
What are yours? What are
Autonomy and connection. Autonomy and connection. And so you'll appreciate this because you're a new Libra rising, okay? So Barry Johnson at the Polarity Institute, the new Libra rising.
I love
Barry
it.
Johnson, I figured, he is the founder of the Polarity Institute, and he argues that if your values are not in polarity with each other, you're not holding the full paradox, which Carl Jung has said is the only symbol that allows us to really understand truth. So a lot of our values could be like security and safety. No, right? We need something like autonomy and connection, or safety, reliability, discovery and adventure, privacy, vulnerability, innovation, stability.
Wow.
Right? And when you ground down
I hope
on
you're
those
writing a book on
values-
this.
Oh, I haven't thought about this, but maybe I should, because Taurus rules my career sector. And I do feel a deep Taurian connection here. But it all comes down to the values. And like Italy, as I'm coming at you live from here, this is a behavior in support of my value. I have always wanted to come here and stay here long. And yes, I love my family, so connection is a value. But I need to be here, and I maintain my connection value by having basically daily check-ins with my twin sister and my mom just before they go to work. And I FaceTime them at the Piazza di Spagna so they can feel like they're in Italy with me.
That's
And there's autonomy
amazing.
and
That is
connection.
amazing.
Yeah.
Is it only limited to 2? Because I identified with 4. I also identify with autonomy and connection. But then I also identify with the adventure and the safety. That's the Cancer. And then I also there was 6 of them that I went for right there. I was like, wait, which are mine? Which are the 2 big
And you're
ones?
so Libra.
I'm going to have to think
I know,
about this.
you were like,
we're going to have you back.
I like them all.
We're having you back to talk
the
about this in
literature
depth.
says, the literature says choose only 2, because that's the whole function
Choose
of the
only
assignment.
2.
If we choose
Ooh,
more than 2,
okay.
the research says we don't even have priorities.
Oh, I get it. Oh my God, I
Yeah,
have to
right?
pick 2 now. Oh my God. Okay, well, I'll be thinking about this. I'll write you
Please
about my
let me
2
know.
afterwards. Oh my gosh.
Yes, you better.
So in your words and in your heart, what makes life worth living?
Love.
Yeah.
Just bar none. I mean, just love in our hearts, love for the people who we're in friendship and family connections with. I mean, it's the alpha and the omega, isn't it? It really is.
Yep. Love makes the world go round, doesn't it?
Yes,
Yeah.
it does.
Colin, thank you so much. You can find Colin's weekly horoscope on cosmopolitan.com and at queercosmos.com. Thank you so much, Colin. I adore you, and I can hardly wait to have you back on the show.
It would be my honor. I cannot wait, Colette. This was so much fun. Thank you to you and your team for making just such a pleasurable experience. And I hope that your listeners enjoyed it as much as we did together. But I doubt it, because we definitely had too much fun. So we'll see.